You're listening to the Dudes and Dads Podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMott and Andy Lehman.
Hey, Andy.
Joel, what's up?
Well, we're here tonight to talk about just some lighthearted things.
Lighthearted
things. Like, if you haven't noticed, our show title, it's lighthearted.
I don't know that that's what I call it.
Nope, not at all. That's
not it.
That's a deep level of sarcasm. Yeah. Hey, welcome everybody to the Dudes and Dads Podcast. It's Joel here with my fellow co-pilot and official test. I was gonna say test dummy. That does
not sound
That
right.
sounds mean, and it's not what I meant.
I trust you.
Test
when you say that.
Stunt double. Yeah.
I'm your stunt double.
Stunt double.
Wow, that.
Chester T. Lehman. Hey, Andy. So tonight we're gonna be talking about some things. We do have some lighthearted things to talk about. Should we start with the lighthearted stuff?
Well,
and then go.
Or do you want to do it? Let's do it. We have a few business things to take care of.
We have some business things to take care of.
Oh,
that's right, because Andy, we have some of the greatest listeners.
Yes, we do.
And the greatest support team that we could possibly ask for. And Andy literally right now is just bobbing up and down in his seat, excited to tell all of you good people about what's been going on.
Yes. So what's been going on is this. We have our spaceship fully funded now. So
spaceship, ground controlled, Major Tom.
Wow. I can't.
Spaceship. What other spaceship songs? Anybody or spaceship songs?
I'm not calling any of them up in my mind.
Rocket Man.
This is suddenly become the Joel's Karaoke Podcast.
John.
All right. So anyways, we do want to thank all of you who contributed to that fund. We really appreciate you. I ordered it, and it should be in shortly for our next podcast.
And Andy, for anybody that's just been living under a rock and doesn't know, when we say the spaceship, we refer to Andy's control panel that he has in front of him as he's orchestrating this fine podcast. There's a whole just a series of screens and knobs and buttons. And at one point, I thought he actually also had a telegraph machine over there.
I did. Yeah. You can
get
get it. It's like the low bit rate, in case you live out in the rural, you can get the telegraph version of this podcast. And
then there's AOL. I mean, we're told that we got mail every time that we start the but the spaceship, Andy rightfully, we just kind of identified that things are getting a little complex over there in his control panel, his spaceship-like control panel. And so we put out an all-call to our community, and we said, guys, we've got a little piece of equipment that could streamline this whole thing, make it a little easier. And as I've been claiming, and again, my claims have not been tested by any medical professional whatsoever, but I did say that the purchase of this particular element to our show would delay Andy's carpal tunnel surgery by 2 to 3 years.
And I believe it.
Yeah, sure. If it sounds right.
Right.
So we got this the doodad, the
Stream Deck.
The Stream Deck.
Yeah.
And before long, you're going to see the benefits of this Stream Deck.
You will.
It's going to come through crystal clear what we've done, and y'all have helped make that possible. So we want to say,
you guys rock.
Thank you. Our supporters they're surprisingly supportive, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like when I think about, well, first of all, Andy, our listeners, we know who a few of them are on occasion, but there's a lot of them who we don't know who they are. They're a mystery to us.
Right.
And I kind of like the mystery, Andy, because that mystery continues to provide surprises.
And we appreciate that.
We do. So thank you, guys.
Yes,
we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for making this show better. And if the quality of this show goes down after the purchase of the Stream Deck, well,
don't blame
blame it on AOL. Yeah. That's it's our bandwidth. We have bandwidth issues.
Mail.
That's our 56K speed that's getting in the way.
Anyways, the other news item that we have to take care of tonight is I just wanted to kind of bring you guys up to speed with my son Micah. So
Micah boy.
Those of you who have been with us for a year now or more have found that last year we got the diagnosis that Micah had some heart issues, and he had surgery last year to fix that. His doctors were kind of concerned still a year from then that his blood pressure is higher than they would like it to be. And so they're going to actually go in here this following Monday, so the Monday after Easter, and they're going to do like a heart cath, and look at it and possibly fix it right there, which would be great because we wouldn't have to have surgery. That's going to be an outpatient type of a thing.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it would be nice, and that's what we're hoping for. So just to kind of bring you guys up to speed, to be thinking and praying about us if you would.
Yes. We are, we're cheering you on, Micah. And heart stuff, I mean, it's your heart, man. It's no carpal tunnel surgery. That's for sure. So, guys, we just appreciate your prayer and support for Micah. And these are things that our families, as you know, are amazingly important to us, and our kids are really, really important to us. And so we want to share. We want to share what's going on.
Absolutely. So, Joel, before we get into our serious topic of the night, as the title of the podcast is 5 Ways to Destroy Your Marriage, or actually just how to destroy your marriage.
But there's a good 5 ways. We have a list of 5, and which is brought to us by one of our, we call them a podcast mentor of ours, the All Pro Dad podcast.
Yeah, so we saw an article floating around on the internet.
Lots of shares.
One of our listeners had shared it, and so we wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. So, but first, before that, we want to do the other thing that we've seen floating around the internet lately is
this, guys, I don't know if you know this thing. The internet it's a thing.
It's amazing,
and it's got stuff on it that sometimes.
Sometimes they're good.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it makes you want to throw your laptop across the room. Other times you just want to share it and discuss it.
And we did. We actually shared this little meme on both Instagram and Facebook. But it's the How Dad Are You? And it has like a checklist of like 20 things that are sayings that I never really even thought about the fact that I say them until I stuck him crap.
Yeah. And here's they've tapped into like a subconscious dad thing here, because Andy, I'm just wondering, when did we start saying these things? It's
right.
It's like we have said these things, but we never got together and had an official conference on it.
No, and some of them are things maybe that I've got from my dad, you've got from your dad.
Maybe,
but it seems kind of universal. So let's go through this list here, and we'll kind of talk about it.
It's so great.
So the very first thing is, guess it's free then. And you say that when a cashier has trouble scanning an item. So like if you're going through there and they can't scan it, you're like, guess it's free then. Have you said it?
Let's see here. Well, I've said it then, or when I get something and there's no price tag on it.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
And I'm like, and I always make a big deal in front of my kids. I'm like, guys, no price tag. Guess it's free.
It's free. So that's the first one. Joel, do you want to hit the next one?
Okay.
Let's go. Are you on the show notes?
Yes, I am. So here's so.
I'm guilty.
Every dad has done this, and I've done it so many times, and my kids don't get it. Okay, so. Andy, do you have a stud finder in your house?
I think it's broken.
This deepens the reality. So guys, you know who you are. If you've ever grabbed a stud finder, you've been looking for a stud or whatever, and you put it on your own body, like your own chest, and go, found it.
I'm guilty of it, though. I know that.
Oh my gosh!
I just don't think mine has batteries in it.
Andy, what's Julie's response on the stud finder gag? What do you think?
She would probably just hang her head and
hard eye roll.
Yeah, it would be one of those dad joke type things where she just gives me the response of, "Yes, you've said it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies, here's the deal. Next time you see one of us with the stud finder in our hand, just prepare yourself mentally and emotionally.
We're gonna say
just
it.
for once we could use a nice little chuckle, something encouraging.
In agreement. Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep. Found it. Okay.
So this is another good one too. So when your kid has like a minor injury, right? Like cut their hand, maybe just a little bit.
Are they freaking out? Is the kid losing their mind?
No.
Or we say this no matter the circumstance?
Probably no matter the circumstance.
That's right. Because you're sold out to it.
Right. So it says, looks like we'll have to amputate then. Have you said that one?
I absolutely have. Or like where I'll go like clearly like they've skinned their knee or the typical. And it's just like, guys, I think there's only one solution. Looks like we'll have to amputate, which really does tick a kid off if they're in pain. They feel like I'm being not sensitive to their need, I think. When I claim that the only solution to their problem is to cause them more pain and just permanently detach altogether. But yeah. Let's see here. What was okay, Andy, when it is time to leave for somewhere, and it could be a short trip, reasonably short trip, longer trip. I feel this is more appropriate for a longer trip, like you say before you start. When you get in the car and you go, let's rock and roll.
Absolutely.
I also, just as a segue, have been known to say, let's light this candle from time to time.
Unfortunately, that one's not on the list.
It isn't.
So.
It should be. Let's rock and roll. Like we're about ready to set off and do something epic.
Right.
Like we're going to like Antarctica.
I feel like
let's rock and roll.
Jack Black needs to be in there and be like, rock and roll.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So next one, when your kid takes way too long in the bathroom, you say something like, "Did you fall in?"
Yes.
Wait, that was too low.
There we go. Okay, got it. This technology we have handy, so impressive. Did you
fall in?
The fall in thing? I think that's a classic. That's a long-standing one. Let's see here. Gosh, this is beyond dad, but like when someone, probably your child, mistakes left for right, and you say, "No, your other right."
Guilty right here.
Your other, like. I feel like it's almost more condescending than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
who says? Okay, here's the deal.
No.
Have you ever said this? Have you used this term? I have not.
I don't know that I've used it.
I think it's older than we are.
It might be.
I think there's an age demographic that you have to cross into.
So I'm 41. Joel's younger than I am.
Thank you.
If you were older than us, you write me and tell me if you've said this.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So when before looking at your bill, like let's say you went out to eat or something like that, and you're looking at your bill, and you say, before you look at your bill, you say, "What's the damage?"
Yeah.
So I think that's an older.
I know what it means. Right. Exactly.
And I've heard it.
I've never said it.
But I
before.
don't think I've said it before either.
Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Yes. I've heard this is more of a, how should we say this next one? This is common in the if you're living in a subdivision, you got the neighbors nearby, easy eye shot, the neighbors that you chat up a lot. The neighbor is out washing their car. Or really, it could be washing. It could be washing anything.
It could be anything, yeah.
Doing anything that you also need to do, and you ask them jokingly, "Hey, can you do mine next?" Right? Yeah. 100%. Andy, have you ever given your?
I don't live anywhere near neighbors.
Your rural location, like when you're out, when you see someone out walking their cows, do you ever say to them, "Hey, can you walk mine next?" Wow. Things we have here that I don't even know about.
We're important.
Can you walk mine next?
No, I don't walk. I don't.
Cow jokes.
Yeah. Okay.
Cow jokes.
So this one, yes, I've been guilty of. So
Julie called you out hardcore on this one.
Yes, I was just resting my eyes.
Oh boy!
After falling asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
So
we know that you're unconscious.
And I think I've said that several times.
Just resting my eyes. Yeah. Let's see. What's this? Oh. Oh, this one.
Yeah.
This might be. I feel like this is like a really cliche one. Also older, like for perhaps an older demographic.
Yeah, but
Have
I
you
think-
said something like this before, Andy?
I-
Now I'm
Maybe.
getting judgy. because it's like, well, I've never said this, and then I
Judgy McJudgerson.
and then I
over
find
there.
out Andy's like, oh, maybe I've said it. When you see somebody that you know in some place in public or whatever, and you're like, hey, guess they'll let anyone in here.
I think
Yes, they will, because it's a public place. They
right.
literally
They literally
let,
will.
as long as you have a shirt on, then yes, they'll probably let you in here.
Maybe even without a shirt. they
Maybe
might.
depending what the circumstances are.
So this next one I'm super guilty about. So when you're seeing traffic on the other side of the road
Yes.
and you're traveling and it's slow or whatever, and
Yep.
you say, "Glad we're not going that way."
100%, and
Done that like every time there's a traffic jam.
every time. Let's see here. Oh, yep. You forget your keys. What do you say? Can't get very far without these. Right.
All the time.
All the time. That's me.
I think the next one again is maybe another older demographic. I don't know that I've said this before, but like
stupid.
when you're
So stupid. I mean, it's
Right.
funny.
It's
but
obvious, but like as you're driving past, like let's say horses, and you're like, "Look, horses," or
Yeah.
"Look, cows."
you just
like,
you name the thing.
you
and
name
your-
what you're going by,
and your kids are like, yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
Dad,
Got it.
sure, whatever you say.
Let's see here. Okay. Kid leaves the door open. What do you say? I'm not paying to heat the whole neighborhood. Or the other one, Andy, were you raised or born in a barn?
Yes.
That's super
Yep. Said it.
super and what's funny is when my dad first said that to me when I was young, I was like, wait, I know my dad grew up on kind of a farm and they had a barn. Was he born or raised in a barn? Maybe he was, and that's why he knows what it's like to have a cold wind blow through your home, and he had such a bad experience with it. He doesn't want to repeat it in his adult
Right.
life, so he's getting like triggered by the barn-like wind chill factor, and is yelling out, "Were you raised in a barn? Born in a barn?" Anyway,
All right. So for the next one, it's when you're carrying something heavy, you say something along the lines of, "It's not heavy, just awkward."
mm-hmm.
So kind of to downplay the fact that you don't know it's not heavy. I got it.
Yeah, I'm
a
sweating
man.
profusely because of the awkwardness
Right.
of
I'm a
this
man, but
object.
This is awkward. It's
I'm
awkward to carry. Right.
grunting awkwardly. It's this is so awkward. This is so awkward.
It's not heavy.
Oh
It's awkward.
my word! That is when when you look at these things and you do a little analysis on it. It's like, I'm stupid.
But we're all guilty of
Okay.
saying these.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So you're driving in any town. You're in every town that you're in, wherever, and your number one criticism is people don't know how to drive. They just don't know how to drive in this town.
So here's mine, and I got this one I think from my dad.
Okay.
So it's kind of the opposite though. When you do something stupid, like you pull out in front of somebody, or you're
I'm not from around,
I'm not from around here.
That's right. I don't know.
I'd say-
The four-way stop. I don't. What is? We don't have these anywhere else.
and you could be in the same town that you live, but you're like, I'm not from around here.
From around here. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, but we say okay. Now this next one, we say it because we mean it, right?
Those of us, yes.
Right in the rural or the agricultural settings, agrarian, if you will.
Joel pulling out the big words. tonight.
Agrarian. Hey, check that one out. Every time it rains, we say, "We really needed this rain." Because I think we
do.
we do. Now, would we would not say if it were flooding, however. That would be too much.
That's just way over the line.
That's
Joel.
over the line. That's almost insulting.
Right.
Because we clearly did not.
So when you're in a store, right, and you go to buy something like a bigger item, and like let's say a TV, right? You check out, the cashier says what to you? would you like to buy the extended warranty item?
That's right.
Right, and so
The-
you
yeah.
decline that, and then you say
Customer care. Yeah.
that's how they get you.
That's how they you've figured out the scam.
Right.
You figured out the system, and you've looked it square in the eyes. You looked the scam square in the eyes, and you were like, "Not today, scam. Not today.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
And then you say that's how they get you. Who's they? We don't know.
The scammers.
The scammers.
Satan.
Yes. Men in suits and ties sitting in a boardroom going, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're going to make zero profit on any of these things that we're selling. But you know how we're going to get them? You know how?
The extended warranty.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Let's see here. Oh. When someone comes back inside because they forgot something, what do you say? Back already? Or that was a short trip. That's another one. Gosh,
Yeah.
I've said that plenty of times.
I've said it when I've come back when I forgot something. I'm like, hey, I'm back already.
I'm back.
I'm back. All right.
back.
So in the last one in this lighthearted section is this. So you're tying stuff down and you say these words. That's not going anywhere. And especially after you check the strap, right? You got the strap or
ding, and it's making like doing sound.
Like, that's not
It's
going
not going
anywhere. And inevitably it's gonna fall off 3 miles down the road.
I want to tell you a quick little story. It goes a little something
All right,
like this.
let's hear it. Story time with Joel.
Story time. So we are moving. Jackie and I newly married. If you haven't heard our horror stories of early married life with moving multiple times in the first few months we were married, it's a saga in of itself. But we
should do an extra podcast on that sometime.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Yeah. The time my apartment burned down before I moved into it. So we're moving furniture from my parents' house to our new place that we're going to live. And my dad we have a pickup truck amongst other things that we're loading stuff in various vehicles, but there's a pickup truck, like a standard pickup truck, open bed. And my dad has just Tetrised the stuff into this thing. And the final thing that he puts in, that he's got this one square hole. There's an ottoman for our couch. There's an ottoman, and he stuffs this thing down in there, and he says, "That's not going anywhere. That's not going anywhere." We made it. I'm going to say 7-8 miles down the road. We're on US 20.
Which, by the way, is a pretty busy highway.
Reasonably busy road.
It's I think the longest highway in the U.S.
Really?
By the way. Yeah.
The more you know. So, and at this point, the section that we're on is like it's heavy traffic, but just 2 lane, one lane each way. And I'm driving along, and I look in my rearview mirror, and all of a sudden I'm seeing the traffic behind me look as though they are like diverting around something.
Oh, no.
Diverting around something.
Your ottoman
flew right out. Now, with just barely a scuff, it really made it out of the whole thing pretty well. No one cracked it, amazingly, or whatever.
Do you know what would have happened, though, had your dad not said this isn't going anywhere? It probably wouldn't have gone anywhere.
He didn't use the tie-down strap. He just shoved it in there and said, this isn't going anywhere. And it went somewhere. And so I made a vow on that day, Andy.
You're not ever going to say that?
Never again will I say, this isn't going anywhere. It's going somewhere. It's going somewhere.
It's going to go somewhere.
Oh, guys, if you're guilty of saying any of those things, hey, let us know. Drop us a line.
If you've got other things that you say, your dad says, other men say.
Maybe there's some goofy saying. Here's how you test it. Here's how you know if this is worthy. If you say it and it brings you great joy and everyone else rolls their eyes when they hear it.
Probably one of these things. So we want to hear it. So, shoot us a line over at dudesandadspodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear you. If you have a really, really great one that you would love to give us a call, go ahead and just look up our phone number. We're there right on dudesandadspodcast.com and send us a voicemail because we'd love to hear your voice.
We do. Oh, we loved it. Some of you've got the nice voice.
All right, Joel. So tonight's main topic and the title of the podcast,
the lighthearted
part of this is how to destroy your marriage. So this is a article that All Pro Dad had shared a while ago, and so we're going bullet point by bullet point, but we're just going to kind of talk about it as we go. So it's their article. we're just talking about the talking points here.
Yeah.
And we'll link to it in our show notes at dudesanddadspodcast.com.
Because they're doing good stuff over there at All Pro Dad.
Yeah,
we
definitely.
are fans. We consider them. We consider the All Pro Dad. We have several podcast mentors.
We do.
That are. They don't know they're our mentors, but they are. but they are, because we are paying attention, and we are. We just desire to bring the excellence that they do. So, Andy, introduce the first. There are 5 things here, right? There are 5 things.
Yes, there are 5 things. So the first one is going to be you stop dating. So that's before
Other
you're married,
women?
No, you
No,
stop dating your wife. Like,
got you.
So as you're dating before you're married,
Makes sense.
yes, that would also kill your marriage too.
It will.
But as you're married, you get married. You before you're married, you do that intentional dating. You want to spend every moment, waking moment with your soon-to-be spouse. But once we're married, though, we just kind of set it. We forget it. We don't do the date thing like that. So that's a really good way to kill your marriage, really.
Yeah, I mean, and it's number one. There's this kind of we talk about. We have had conversations about this, like just pursuing your wife, like being in pursuit of her,
like you were when you were dating.
Correct. Like where it was evident, like your behavior indicated to her that you were like.
You were still into her.
Yeah, single-mindedly focused into sealing the deal, as they say.
Right, and it gets easy to forget to do that as you get farther along in your marriage, because you have other interests. You guys are doing life together, and
you're just so tired. You're just so
absolutely.
You're so tired.
Well, and I think that kids also get in the way, because you got kids running, doing other things. You got 100 different things that you're trying to do. And it's easy to not make dating important.
Yeah, I would say this is something kind of recently that I think we've doubled down on a little bit, which I think Jackie and I both kind of support each other in this. We don't, like, when Jackie and I are trying to, like, having meaningful conversation or whatever, we just don't let our kids interrupt us.
Right. We've come to the point where we close the door. Like, we go to our bedroom.
Yeah.
We've kind of made our bedroom our sacred space.
Yes.
And we shut everybody out.
Yes. And just we the other day, like, we're going down to sit to have a. Well, and here's the other thing: to have a conversation that is not where tensions are not high. Like, I love having. How about you, Andy? Don't you love having a conversation where you're both in a calm state of mind, and thinking reasonably clearly? I wish I did that more often. But in order to help maintain that, it's so funny, because it's like we go into a room, lock the door, sitting there, having a talk, and then eventually you can hear the feet. You can hear the feet coming down the hallway, right? They're about ready to
knock on your door.
They won't even knock. They just
barge.
They just about ready to barge in, whatever. And you, I'm talking to your father, and then we go back to talking. But again, the intentional time, dating one another, and because I would say part of the dating thing is, yes, taking time away, changing the context, but also those dating conversations that you had, right,
where you're trying to get to know, each other, things like that,
right? Yes, and so think back. What were the dating conversations? And maybe you need to bring a little dating conversation back in the mix.
So there's an app that Julie and I have been using to help with that. So it is, I can't get my phone open. It is called, what is it called? Okay. Intimately Us. Yes, Intimately Us. And so in there has
sounds intimate.
It is conversation starters and things, and so we've gone through a lot of those when we're doing dates.
That's
kind
great.
of just talking about that. So,
and Andy, I know you're going to link that in the show notes,
absolutely,
because that sounds, and that's the thing. Well, how many times we've said it here before? You're getting out on your date, you're having your conversation, and you're like, okay, here's the deal. It's like Flo on the Progressive commercial. How long can we go? For her, it's how long can she go without talking about insurance. For us, it's how long can we go without talking about our children or whatever.
So that actually brings up point number 2 on ways to kill your marriage is you live for your kids, and obviously your kids are important, right? They're part of your family. They're
not
important.
that important, Andy.
Right. but the truth is, though, like they were here after your relationship with your wife. Your relationship with your wife was first,
Right.
and they're second to that, and so
They're literally here because of my
because of your
relationship with my
yes,
wife.
quite literally.
Literally.
But you live, you're living for them, because what I found and what I've heard a lot of people say is once their kids move out, they end up getting a divorce because they have nothing in common, because all the things that were in common were the things with the kids.
Yeah, and you listeners, I know many of you either have experienced this yourself or know this story of where there was mom and dad were super involved. It from the outside looked like a very active family, very invested family. Well, what you find out is it is investment that is going on outside. It's investment into the kids and not investment in each other. And then when the kids go away, they take the investment with them.
Yeah.
They take everything that you've poured into them and they go away.
Right.
To hopefully reinvest that in another relationship, whatever. But here's the deal.
But then that leaves you empty.
That's right. Because you look across the room and you're like,
I don't even know.
Who are you? Right. Yeah. Who is this person?
So that goes back to the dating too, because I think that if you date, you kind of get that you kind of keep that spark that's outside of your kids. So that helps balance that out.
And again, guys and gals, whoever's listening currently, I know we all love our kids. We think they're great. We appreciate the gifts and the abilities that they bring. Your kids are not an extension of your value as a human being.
Yeah.
So if you are experiencing your children in that way and in looking to your kids and saying, "Oh, my kid has to do this, or this, or I will experience myself, or I'm afraid I'll be viewed as this failure or whatever," that is a good way to again find value in that and not in who you are as a person individually, and also to not find value in the relationship you have with your spouse. And so, yet again, just contributing to this whole thing of, we're not really investing in each other. We have all these other motivations and why we're spending all this time and energy with our kids. And really, Andy, I mean, I feel like so oftentimes we do live in a society, in a culture that is run by children.
Yeah.
And that's not a commentary on our current political environment. I'm just saying,
like running,
right?
Really.
They are. They're not sitting down at a board meeting giving us directions. But what they are doing is, if we look at our calendars, very easily,
you'll see where our calendars. What's important.
Man. Yep. So, my friends, yeah.
All right,
your kids. Your kids aren't important. That was the whole point of that. Just kids.
That's the pull quote for this.
Yeah. If you've learned nothing else from the Dudes and Dad podcast, please know your children are not important.
So, number 3, you keep track of everything, and by that I mean that time that she may have said something wrong or did something wrong or whatever. And sometimes we hang on to them, even though we've said we've moved on. So we may have said, hey, I'm done, I'm fine with that. But then really, are we fine with that? Because those things just kind of build on top of each other. And I think we need to practice forgiveness and true forgiveness, not just I'm okay because we're just going to move on, like let it go. But like actually letting go of what she did to you.
Right. When we hold on to things that builds up resentment, right?
Right.
And he's got this, which I really loved this great quote. Nelson Mandela said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies."
Exactly. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. It's only harming you. So, yeah, I think, and again, as people of faith, we really look to we try to have the conversation about what does radical forgiveness look like. How do we have lives that are marked by not holding on to things, but just assuming the best of other people, particularly our spouse, and wanting to move on and address things, but not hold on to things. I've been in my counseling work, I have been in plenty of conversations where we're talking about something that happened right now, and then before we know it, we're talking about 2 or 3 years ago, and this thing that so-and-so did. And it's like, oh, so that thing from way back then is still
Is
at
still
play.
there.
Right, still at play, still working. And that's just a really dangerous machine to keep running. So forgive one another. Let it go. Let it go.
I knew you were gonna sing.
I can't help.
This
I
has
can't
literally
help it.
been like the karaoke of Joel.
You know what? We should at some point do a compilation of
All the songs
of
that
all
you've sung.
the times that I've broken out into a really terrible song. Yeah,
It'd be our best of
best
podcast.
5,000 listens. Andy, what's next?
All right, so the next one is you don't grow. And so I think that this is something, it's really important because you need to be growing as an individual as well as a couple. So usually, you're not your best self when you're tired or anxious or whatever, but part of that is that you're not growing, you're not doing self-care. So we had talked about dude self-care a couple weeks
Yes.
ago, and this plays right into that, this dude self-care, because there's a fine line, I think, Joel, between just doing the things that you want to do and not taking her considerations in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that there's a fine balance between that and actually doing self-care. And self-care is really important. And I think for me, doing this podcast is one of the things that helps me grow. Like
Ugh.
with you, we get to spend time together and we get to do the podcast and
Amen.
learn from people. Learn, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of times
This
we're doing
is really,
interviews.
this podcast is a giant exercise in our own selfishness. Because it's like, because I agree with you. It's when you and I've had these conversations before where it's like we reflect back on the many great conversations we've had in here, both on air and off air, where I just feel like we know some incredible people that have incredible
yeah.
stories and have incredible insights, and there's wisdom to be shared. And it's like, I wanna just soak all of that up, no matter who it's coming from. I really want to hear those things and get better. Not just to sit on it, but rather to be a better father, to be a better husband, and to as I'm sure has been the case with you, Andy. Many times we've come away from these shows and it's like, man, I gotta have a talk with my wife.
Yeah.
I gotta hash some things out here. Or it's made me
It's
think.
made me think and grow.
Yeah, or even like in a throwback here. Corey Whitmer, have him on the show. He talked about the trips that he takes with his sons, and and I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. And I will say, like, I've had that conversation with the boys. It's really it's changed our relationship, right?
Mhm.
It is. So it's like, I want to be open. I just want to be open to hear wisdom from wherever it's coming from, and to apply it. And because Andy, good Lord willing, we've got a lot of years ahead of us still, a lot of growth to do. Hopefully I'm better tomorrow than I was today, and so on and so forth. But we just owe it to our wives to not get stagnant, to not get stuck, to not get just to kind of rest on prior successes or perceived successes, and rather to keep pushing forward. So yeah, I guess this would be a good time. We could just say, if would love to hear comments from our listeners, even maybe as we post this on social media, like in your number one, maybe can you identify something you want to get better at for the sake of your marriage, just like a personal improvement thing, or where do you feel like you get stuck? Like what's the mud that you find yourself getting into that kind of maybe prohibits or slows down growth for you? Would love to hear. Would love to get a sense from y'all, kind of what that's like, how you experience it.
And if you want to call us, our voicemail line is 574-213-8702. Again, that's 574-213-8702. We would love to hear your voice, so please call in.
Yeah, so you can just leave a message and say, here's where I get stuck. That'd be great. And we won't use it on the show unless you say we can. Number 5, Andy, and this one is, if a marriage is 90% communication, part of communicating is speaking, but then also listening and hearing.
So
and really hearing.
Another one of those cliche things is God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen
right.
more.
That's right. And it's true. Listen twice as much as you speak. And there's definitely some wisdom in that.
Well, and I think in the article that we're kind of basing this episode off of, the opening statement for this paragraph is listening feels like love. So listen well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's, I think, yeah, we need to listen well. There's one thing of hearing your wife, but then there's another thing of paying attention. You can be working on your phone. I can't do this well because I don't multitask anyways. But people can be. I say people because I can't. Looking at their phone or doing something else, and then someone's talking to them, and that's not listening well. Listening well is putting your phone down, looking in the eyes, so that they know that there's attention there, and giving that and actually listening.
Yeah, I think that's key. I mean, limiting distractions. I also like, just in general, like, good active listening skill is to help keep yourself engaged. Ask questions, ask follow-up questions.
Right, and repeat what you're hearing too.
Yeah.
So when I was back, this is a fun fact. When I was, I think, in middle school, I was what they called a peer mediator, and so
this makes sense to me.
So essentially, where I'm helping my peers, get through their problems, basically, like when they have problems with each other. And one of the things that we learned, and actually I did this with my children today.
Some of the greatest lessons we learn early on, and if we can hold on to them, it's great.
Right. So one of the things that are there is you let each person tell their side, and then you kind of repeat it so that you make sure that what you've heard is what what they're saying is what you're actually hearing. And then so you're repeating that to them. So this applies too for your marriage. That's a very good thing. When you're actively listening, you're putting the phone down, you're looking in the eyes, and you repeat back what is said, and then that way you're expressing the concern for what what their issues they're bringing.
Yeah, listening well, and this is I say this as somebody who spends a lot of time listening for a living.
Yeah,
it's hard work. I mean, really, Andy, like, it is. There's some days that I feel really exhausted by listening to people, and it's not that the folks that are talking are just they're so terrible to listen to that it drains. But there is an act, like the amount of attention that we really have to give to listen well is considerable, and and there's in communication all kinds of opportunities, obviously, to misunderstand or to mishear or misinterpret things. So if you're doing the active listening thing, where you're really sold out to, like, no matter what, we're going to have clarity in this conversation, and I want to be sure that I have understood the other person well and that they have understood me well, like, the back and forth that you have to do there, where as I, like, some of my couples that I do therapy with, I explain it to them as, like, when I can see that there's communication problems, I just say, listen, we got to go back to elementary school on this one, right? And I said, and by the way, when we do this, your conversation is going to feel clunky at first because what you're going to do is you're going to say things like, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is this, and this. Did I get that right, or have I missed something? And then they have to come back and say, well, actually, whatever. And then you're coming back and say, okay, so I understand that instead of it's very step by step. It's hard work. You do it long enough, though,
it's more of a natural thing.
It becomes more natural. We just have to learn it. We have to spend the time learning. So, fellow dudes, I would just say this. And again, men get a bad rap in the communication and listening department, like, it's like a kind of a cliche thing, right? We can do better. but we have the capability of just putting some things into practice. I think that ultimately, like I said, feel a little clunky. It'll feel hard work, but it's a skill, just like anything else. And so, listen well, listen to understand, not just to be ready to say the next thing that you want to say.
Right, and I think that's important too. Is not thinking of your next question. They talk about in interviewing. I've listened to a lot of different podcasts and talks about how to do interviews well. I mean, that's because that's what we do here on this podcast.
Right.
And so I want to know how to do it well. And one of the things that they always say is actively listen, not thinking of what you're going to ask next, but listen to gain the knowledge of what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's important in your marriage too.
Yeah. Interview your spouse.
Interview your spouse.
Interview, not interrogate. I should say those are two separate.
Excuse me, where were you in the night? 23rd.
I need answers now. Yeah.
That probably will destroy your marriage.
That will, yes.
Well, guys, this has been a very good conversation. I've really appreciated it. Joel just broke his microphone.
Oh man, okay, here we go.
All right, there we go. So I really appreciated this conversation. I would encourage you to go out and do the opposite of these things.
That's right.
Do these things that are going to keep your marriage alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guys, I think when we do these things intentionally, and I'll just say this: moving forward, Andy and I are going to be so maybe we could just put this out there to the community. Andy and I are going to try to have more conversations around like things that we have read or are currently studying together. And this can be everything about, this can be from parenting. This can be for personal health, spiritual health. This can be for marriage related stuff. If you've got like resources or things, you're like, man, I would love for Andy and Joel to like read or dig into this stuff and then have a conversation about it. Let us know.
Yeah. Shoot us an email, dudesanddadspodcast@gmail.com. Joel, before we close though, I want to thank everybody who is currently a Patreon supporter of our show. This show does take money to do to hosting costs and things like that and upgrades. And we really appreciate you.
Yeah, and it's I'll be honest with you guys, the prices are going a little bit higher just due to the recent catastrophe in the Suez Canal. So if you could, it's not a thing.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just figured that it was affecting us somehow. Anyway, but guys, we appreciate your support, Suez Canal blockage or not, and we just thank you for just having our back. We thank you for the encouragement that we get from you all, and we love doing this thing. And we're looking forward to we're almost into spring.
Yeah,
man, things are going to get fun and crazy here soon, and we're hopefully, well, not just hopefully, we will. We're going to have some really, I think, great conversations and be bringing more guests. We have more guests in. We'll have some returning guests. We're going to have maybe Andy, maybe this is the year that we plan our first Dudes and Dads Summit. We do we'll do some interesting event, a live recording, something like that, when we can get people back together. So we're always open to ideas of what we can do to make the show better, or how we can we're looking for ideas. So
right, and if you want to join those Patreon troop that we have here,
the tribe, all that,
you can go to dudesanddadspodcast.com/support, and there's an option for Patreon, and Patreon users get special things. They get extra content, and
I'm releasing a karaoke album.
They'll get.
Yeah, so that seems that'll pull them in, Andy.
Absolutely, they're gonna love it. They are gonna love it.
Joel. Solid gold. Guys, we love you so much. Thanks for tuning in this time, and until next time, grace
and peace.